Discover how to go from 0 to 7 figures with video marketing in today's episode with Sebastien Night. And he's the founder of OneTake AI, an AI program which turns raw footage into a professional presentation in one click. The first question is, what's the secret to your success and how does AI help you get there?
Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu, mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services.
Okay, so first secret to my success, if I can give a quick background story so people understand. When I started my first business, I had no idea what was achievable. I was just out of engineering school. It was 15 years ago. And my big goal was to give myself 1 year to just be able to grow a business that pays myself as well as the job I had just quit. And I started that. I was making ends meet, and then one day I took a course where the reason I bought this course was because the teacher, Jeff Walker, was a great marketer in video. He was teaching content before trying to make the sale, and I decided to use the same approach. And so that was at like year 2 of my business. I went from having spent a year of effort to get 400 leads and make ends meet, to within 3 months, I went from 400 email leads subscribed to my newsletter to 17,000 in 3 months. In a year, I went from 17,000 to 100,000 email subscribers. I grew back when YouTube was a new thing in 2008, 2009, and nobody was using it. I grew a channel to several millions of views. And that led me to run several businesses and to make millions. What happened then is that other entrepreneurs, especially in the French-speaking market, came and asked me, is there a way that we could use the same strategies in our businesses? And when they tried to use this in their business, I noticed that people were missing a couple of things back then. The marketing strategy, and also some technical expertise and knowledge. If you were starting a business on the internet in 2010, you really needed to be able to build your own website, install WordPress to get your blog running, and all of these things. And over time, most of the technical struggle has been solved for most people. Today, if you want to do a podcast like the interview we're doing today, you can just fire up Zoom and have this conversation, and you have your recording. Back then, it was much more difficult. If you want to host a course today, there's 100 tools that will host your videos with a password and things like this. But in 2021, when I decided to start OneTake, I could see that there was still one big technical gap that was making a lot of entrepreneurs struggle. And it was the thing that had helped me succeed. Video marketing, being able to take your expertise and create a lot of content out of it so that people can find you on YouTube, on social media, so that on your website they can relate to you. And so I had this vision, and remember, this is 2021. Nobody's speaking about AI back then. ChatGPT doesn't exist. It wouldn't exist for more than a year and a half. And I have this vision of what if you could just record a raw video, just speak whatever you have to say, however you're able to say it, and have the AI take that and work just like a professional video editor would. Remove your mistakes, make you sound more professional, improve the audio, remove the background noise, add the titles, add transitions, compose music that matches the tempo of what you're talking about. And I had this vision back then. It took us a little while to actually build the product. And right now, we have thousands of entrepreneurs in almost every country you can imagine. The software is available in 105 languages. And we're helping these people to do several things now. Communicate about their business, talk about it, make marketing content, share their expertise by creating free content for YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and also create their products. Because I guess with the audience that you have, probably a lot of people want to be book writers, or they want to be a public speaker, or a coach or a consultant. And if you're choosing one of these careers, and I've done all of those, the best way for you to market yourself is to share your expertise, and video is the perfect medium for that. So that's what OneTake AI helps people with.
Thank you. How is this different versus what's already in the market?
Huge difference is that most all of the video software editing tools on the market are video editing tools. So if you wanted to get your video to look professional, and you're going to use Adobe Premiere or Sony Vegas or one of the online editors, then you have to record your video, upload it, and then you will spend your whole afternoon or your whole weekend cutting things, removing them, typing the titles, changing the colors, stuff like that. So typical tools will cost you a lot of time, a lot of effort. If you don't have like the graphic designer taste, it will cost you like, it's helpful to try to figure out the colors and the fonts and all of that if you want to add titles. Or what some businesses do is you will hire someone, just say, I'm going to hire a freelancer and I'm going to pay them typically in the order of $1,000 per video or more if you're doing like long format content. And so what we do is we don't replace the tool. We do not replace Adobe Premiere. We don't replace these like the software. We replace the entire role. So instead of having to hire someone to do your videos, you can just record yourself with your phone or your computer, and then the AI takes over. Does the whole thing, gives you the result. So in terms of savings of time and money, this is huge. And the last point is we also see AI. I think the right way to see AI, any kind of AI in your business, is to think of it as you have this super smart intern that you just hired. And I'm saying intern because it's super smart and not as expensive as a like 20-year-old experienced employee. It's just coming into your business, super smart, has read the entire internet, is super powerful. So if this super smart intern was sitting in the office next to you and you said, please edit my videos, after a while, it should be able to learn from what you're teaching, your content, your ideas, and to learn in a private way. So we use a container system so that what the AI learns is not shared with any other user, it's just for your account. But when it's started to learn from your existing content, now it can start suggesting new ideas for new content, for new products that you should be doing. So you have you have this, instead of being a tool, you can think of it as if you had hired someone that's going to be proactively helping you with your business. And that's the direction that OneTake is taking things. It edits your video for you, learns from it, and then can make suggestions. Oh, you should do this for your next video. Here's a script for the sale of this product, and so on.
That's so fascinating. Now, I do wonder about the initial video, because if you have a really terrible video and then you turn that into a presentation, you're going to have a terrible presentation. And so I wonder,
the goal is to not do that.
So I wonder, what elements should your video contain in order to be a great video that can be turned into a great presentation?
Okay, that's a great question. I think you have to, if you want to make a presentation that hits the target, like dead center, is going to be powerful. The main goal usually is to get people to take some action. It could be subscribing to your channel, it could be signing up for your email list, and it could be buying your product. Most likely, these are the top 3 actions that people want to do in videos. Why people will do this comes from 2 things. It will come from them understanding that you're addressing their problems, issues, and concerns. So one of the first things when you set up OneTake for the first time, when you just launch it for the first time, it asks you a couple of questions to understand your business. Who are you trying to address? What kind of product are you trying to sell? What makes you different? And the AI asks you those questions. so that it understands in which direction to make suggestions so that your content is highly relevant. Um, I'll give an example because I use it in my own account, and my audience is mostly people who have some expertise, some knowledge, experts, authors, speakers. So similar as your audience, I would think. And so you don't speak to this audience the same as you would speak to if you were still business to business, but speaking to like industry people that just manufacture items in a plant. They are also business owners. They don't have the same vocabulary. They don't have the same problems. They don't have the same way of thinking about things. Our kind of audience tends to think about value. How do I provide more value? People in the industrial space tend to think about cost. How do I produce for the cheapest? So you don't speak to them the same way. So I would say this is the first thing: is you need to talk about topics and use words that are relatable to that audience. And the second part is the offer that you're making in the video has to be extremely appealing. So one of the things that we give away as with the software is we run lots of free trainings with experts that are completely free to our members. So we sell them to the outside world, but anybody that is a member of OneTake gets access to those for free. And one of the big things that we teach is making irresistible offers. This is true when you want people to just subscribe and click the subscribe button. They need to think that they are going to get so much more value than the work of moving the mouse to the subscribe button. Same for signing up to your email newsletter. They need to understand I'm going to get so much more value, like this episode, like this free guide or cheat sheet. So it's worth giving my email for this. And of course, when you make a paid offer, because, well, if you're speaking on stage and you want to sell to someone a coaching program, then people need to feel compelled to run to the back of the room. And if you do that in a online video, well, they're not going to run to the back of their room because their computer is right in front of them. But you need them to feel the desire to take action now. So these two things that I mentioned are mostly substance, right? Speaking to people in a relatable way and making an offer which matches what they need and desire right now. The shape, so not the what, but the how, what it looks like. This is what the AI does for you. So this is very good for people that tend to speak with hesitations, or you're not a perfect polished speaker, or you don't have the perfect recording studio, or there's backgrounds, there are your kids playing as you're speaking. All of that is fine. The AI can take care of that. But I believe that as experts and entrepreneurs, what we are trying to own is the part where we try to bring the most value in the substance. And now we have these amazing AI tools like OneTake to take care of the shape of the message, which is the presentation.
Thank you. So OneTake is a tool that can help you to turn a sales video into a sales presentation. Yes?
Yes, not just sales videos. A lot of our users are using it for just content. So you want to teach something that you're going to put up on YouTube, or you want to teach a class that will be maybe a paid class, like a master class or a webinar, and you want it to look very polished, but all you have to do is present it, and then the AI will take care of making it polished. So you don't have to prepare a PowerPoint, you don't have to do any of the editing yourself.
Thank you. I find that quite interesting that normally you would have to have the presentation before you actually do the video, because otherwise you're not going to know what you're going to say, right?
And yeah, that's usually the way people go, is they work for hours on creating a PowerPoint, and then their video is mostly sharing screen and showing the PowerPoint. But it tends to be a little bit boring for audiences online to just watch slides go by one after the other. And so We've started recently working on one of the largest studies of the effectiveness of different video formats. And one of the preliminary results that we are seeing is that it is so much more engaging for people when they can both see you and the message, like the main points of the message at the same time. This is a format that in the industry we call neuro videos, because this is an idea that came from neuroscience. And this the AI is able to do, but for a human editor, it takes a lot of time. It takes roughly 12 hours of work for one video, like 1 hour video. And so it would not be very scalable for people to do it themselves, but now we have the tools that are able to create this like specific format that's optimized for online consumption, that multiplies how long people watch the content, how long they stay, and how much action they take.
Thank you. Is there a particular structure you recommend that entrepreneurs use in order to create the video in the first place to make sure the sales presentation is also a really incredible one?
Oh, yes. Okay, so there are different formats depending on what the goal of the video is. If you have a video that is mostly going to be educative with possibly a call to action towards the end, then you want to use a classic framework, which is why, what, how, and what if. And this is because there are 4 ways you can communicate the information and get it across. Different people in your audience have one dominant modality that they would prefer. And so I'll take an example. So for instance, my ex-wife was a why person. So if you're teaching anything, even if it's a life-saving thing that you're teaching, if she doesn't first understand the motivation, like why am I sitting here listening to this instead of doing my stuff? If you don't get the why across, she's going to tune out the entire talk or the entire conversation. When I'm learning, I'm a very different profile. I am a what if person. So if you give me an entire talk, I will be the one raising their hand at the end or raising the hand in the Zoom room. And I will be asking, okay, so I understand the framework, but what if I'm doing this on a plane? What if I don't have Wi-Fi? What if, blah, blah, blah? And so I'm the kind of person that needs to understand how this technique works in 50 different cases, like everyday situations, before I have this aha moment of, okay, maybe I can do this. And there are people of the other 2 profiles. There are people that want the higher end concept, which is the what, and there are people that just want the list of steps, which is the how. So when you're teaching content, you need to teach all 4, but there's a specific order in which you maximize how many people will listen to you and will listen to you to the end and take action. And the other is you first start with the why. So you explain why we are here, and this is important. What are the consequences for people if they don't do this? Which in our case would be people tune out if you don't use this method. What are the consequences if people do what you're teaching? So once you stated the why and people are hooked, now you can explain, which is very brief. You explain the what, which is the theoretical concept, like the basis for the thing you're teaching. You give the name to the concept because that's how people remember things, if you give it a name. And then you explain basically the theory behind it, but in as short of a segment as you can, because the what people are the smallest group, the people that like the theory, and everybody else is going to get lost if you go too deep into it. And then you can go into the largest section, which is the how. So you just split this into steps. Typically, we try to do 3 to 7 steps, not less, because if you go, well, this method has just 1 step, do it. Then it's not the most valuable content. People need a little bit more of detail. And if you go, okay, now I have this very simple method that will change your life. It is 117 steps. Then everybody leaves the room as well. So 3 to 7, like items is good. Whatever the format of the content, it's good for a TikTok video. You could do 5 tips in a TikTok video, and it's good for a long form podcast. It could be like 5 steps to your first million. I think was the theme of one of my podcasts with Harry Sardinas. I think I've seen him in your background. And then once you've motivated people to listen. Why? You've given a quick overview, which is the what. You've given the list of steps to take, which is the how. Now you should give a few examples and exercises to match the what if people. So people like me that need to understand that this will work in their actual life. So you give a couple examples, or you tell a couple of stories, or you give people an exercise on action that they can take themselves. If you do this in your content, then it will multiply the percentage of people that go to the end, consume it entirely. And also it will help them give it context so that they can see it working in their lives, and that helps them take action. And of course, if it's a sales message, the action is to buy the product or to book a call with you to move forward.
Thank you. What about for like a sales presentation? Because you mainly talked now about an educational video, the formula for that.
Yes, true. So how I would modify that if I'm making a pure sales video is I would, and this is an approach that not everybody does, but I found to be very successful for me and for our clients, is I'm very clear that there is an offer from the beginning. So I don't have people like walk through a whole journey of stories and things before ta-da, so like surprising everybody at the 20th minute that there is a product to sell. I think it's much more interesting to be upfront that we have an offer that will change their life without going into detail of the offer. But that's one of the initial things I will say, because it gives me the opportunity to say what the promise of this offer is. And I like starting, it's like the why in the educational content. You want to start very quickly in any sales content by stating what people have to gain from listening, even before you state what they have to gain from buying. They need to know what they have to gain from listening to the message. And so I will not start with even introducing myself, telling my story before I first made the promise. So I would first start with the promise. Then, because if you're making an irresistible offer, your promise is going to be huge. So it's going to be something that some people have objections to, or have a hard time believing that's possible for them. So you make the huge promise, and then right away, you have to cover, wait, how is that even possible? Maybe you're sitting at home and wondering, this seems like a huge promise to make. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am and why I can make such a promise. And this is where you can use authority to give credibility to the promise that you just made. So the authority, who you are to do this, how is this method been proven before, how many people you've worked with. It's a good opportunity to tell the story of someone that's been transformed, which could be you having used the same method, or could be one of your clients, or could be tens of your clients, but being specific. It's not as effective if I tell you, today OneTake is used by many businesses around the world, versus if I said, today OneTake is used by many businesses who want their expertise to be known, like, for instance, Earl. And Earl is an actual person. And Earl is a client of ours. He's a perfume expert. What he does is he makes bespoke perfumes that people purchase for specific opportunities. So it's a luxury product. And he's using OneTake to create the videos to get his expertise known, to tell the story of the perfumes. And this has helped his business so much, because he's a very, thanks to the videos, he becomes a very relatable person, and his products become something that people can be interested in. So you start with the promise, you go into the authority that justifies the promise. This gives you the opening to tell the story and be as specific with your own story or a customer story, so people can see how this works. And then you can move into more details about the value that the offer is going to bring into their lives. And I try to not present the product, but rather present the transformation and just every time show how the product ties in with the transformation. So instead of saying, our online course has 7 modules, module 1, get ready for blah, blah, blah. Instead of doing this, which is extremely boring and people don't want to buy the stuff, I would say what our program helps you achieve is 7 things. The first thing is, let's say somebody wants to be a public speaker. The first thing is you'll acquire the confidence to speak on any topic. And to teach you this, we do that. So this is actually my presentation of module 1, but I'm starting with the promise and then I'm saying how we get you to this. And I can do this for each module. By the time I've introduced all of this value, the transformation, I can start giving a price to the value. So not the price that I'm going to charge, but how much this is worth to them. It can be worth money because this is money that you will save. And I do that a lot when I present my software, for instance, on webinars or on sales videos. I will start by talking about how much it costs to hire someone to edit your videos for you. And when you start stacking the price and you say, okay, I'm going to do 10 videos per month and they're going to last 10 minutes each. And when you add up over a year, how much cost of software and people that's necessary, it's about $30,000 to do the whole thing well. So now you know like how much it's worth. And then if I made an offer for $30,000, then it would be like, your offer is the exact cost that I would have without you. So it's not a saving, it's not an irresistible offer. But when I make my offer, and my offer is only 1,000 to get all of this done, then now it's completely irresistible because you're saving 30 times the amount. So that's one way of doing things. Or you can show return on investment, which is what is the potential that people could achieve. Typically, I do this, for instance, I tell a story of, I was doing an interview just like you and I are doing today with American consultant and best-selling author Jay Abraham. And he was, we were just talking together for an hour. And then when the interview was over, I used OneTake to edit the video, to turn it to a presentation, and I sent it to him. And actually, he decided to not publish it on YouTube because he said this now that it's become like a polished presentation, it's too valuable to give away for free. So what he did is he sent an email to all his clients and he said, I just did a masterclass with Sebastien Night, and you can get access to it for $59. And he sold thousands and thousands of dollars in a few minutes of having done just a quick conversation and then having the AI edit it for him. And so I use that because I want to show not just that you're saving money, but also the return. Imagine if you could just, in 1 hour, create something that is valuable enough that tens of people or hundreds of people will be willing to pay for it. And once you've established a value like this, so could be savings, could be return on investment, could also be emotional value. I used to own a dating advice business. And when people would ask, like, what is the price of coaching? We had many programs at like any price point. So I would not quote a price. Like when I was interviewed on TV and they would ask that, I would always say, well, it's about the price of an engagement ring. Now, what's fun about that is everybody has a different value in their mind of what an engagement ring is worth. So I would get people that would be single guys, they want to meet the love of their lives, and they think that an engagement ring is like $250. And we had programs at this price. And then we would have other people, like we had a guy that was a director in a big London bank, and he came in and he wanted coaching for like €8,000 because that's, for him, that's the starting price of any ring, right? So you can have these 3 types of value: savings, return on investment, emotional value. And then you can finally make the offer, state the price, and have the call to action in your sales message. And then depending on the format, I also like to answer objections in the sales message. So if it's a webinar, for instance, I will be doing my very quick presentation. I do that for OneTake. I have my very quick intro where I do everything that I just said. I do my demo in a few minutes, and then I'm answering questions till everybody's got an answer, or everybody's left, or everybody has bought. So maybe the first part of the webinar before the questions is like 30 minutes. And then it's happened that I've stayed online for more than 3 hours answering questions, because the more you're present with people's actual questions and objections, the more they buy. So typically you can multiply the sales of your presentation just by staying with the questions. It will triple the sales of a video presentation. So I do this for as long as I have questions. My presentation has a default list of 54 slides, I think, which are the 54 top questions that people ask. And if there's new questions that come in, we add them in there. So that's when I did presentations like on stage. And if I do them online, I don't need to do slides because OneTake just makes the presentation for me. But answering questions is super important.
Wow, that's so interesting. Now, my only question is that when because my programs are very visual, so I have a lot of like before and afters. So let's say if I was to talk about, okay, for example, I helped Carmen and she was working in a factory, and then I did this amazing book cover for her, and look how amazing she looks, and look at her brand, and look at and that kind of thing. I don't think that the AI would be able to insert all the different pictures and of the books and all the different covers that I have in my database, right? So that would still be something I would have to do manually, right? Like maybe the AI would do the title of, okay, this is where you insert Carmen's story and the before and after. And because my entire presentation is about before and afters, I wonder whether OneTake AI can help me with anything, or whether I mostly still would need to do it myself, because there's a lot of before and afters that I would have to introduce into the presentation.
That is correct. Today, there are no AI tools that can do that, but this is what we've been working on for OneTake 8. So right now we are at OneTake 6.4. We soon release OneTake 7. We have like a very fast update cycle. So twice a month we release a new version. And one of the interesting things that we've been working for with OneTake 8 is the ability for the AI to be, as I was saying, more proactive in how it's doing things. And one of the things that I've been working on is the exact same problem that you're raising. If you're doing a presentation where you're just talking about the story of, what was her name? The lady that Carmen. So you're telling the story of Carmen. She was working in the plant, and then you helped her with her book. What we are training right now the AI to do is, once it's editing this video, when it sends you the result, it's going to ask you, Lily, I noticed that there are points that would have a nice opportunity to illustrate with a visual. Could you send me any visuals you have of Carmen's book, of this, of that? And the way we're building it is that you would be able to just, if you had those on your hard drive, you could just like upload the whole folder and let the AI, because it's able to see what's in the frame. So if you give it the pictures of the different books, for instance, you've mentioned 5 books, and you just upload the covers of the 5 books, it's going to be able to know which book goes when in the video. So what we are working towards is so that it can be proactive and say, well, you just uploaded this 2-hour video. You mentioned a couple of things that I think would deserve illustration. Do you have the visuals? And if so, you send them. And if you don't have it, it will suggest visuals that could match this part of the video, because it's able to generate images or to use images that have no royalty-free images to illustrate. And so, yeah, this is an open problem that we've been working on, because that's the exciting part, not having to do this manual work of uploading yourself to do the side-by-side, which right now all video tools force you to do, and we want you to be able to save that effort.
Thank you. What would you say was the key differentiator for you, where you were able to create a channel with millions of subscribers?
What was the big differentiator in so as I was growing all of those expert businesses, and I've written many books, and I have several books that became bestsellers, Amazon bestsellers, French bestsellers. And what the difference was that at the time, and it's still true in many industries, most of my competitors, you had to pay to see them and to learn from them. They had very little or zero actual content that you could learn from. And so I was the first in my market at the time to show up and say, well, I'm going to straight up solve problems for people by giving information. That was important. Second was I'm going to do this in a relatable way. So there's a lot of people that they have this idea of trying to become an influencer or creating content. But if you think of it as just content, then you might be missing the boat of what people actually need. And so it's we did a test. I had at a point I had 4 weekly podcasts that I was presenting, and they were each on a different theme. And the initial versions, I was standing with a camera, blah blah blah, and it looked very professional. It looked very TV-like, if you want. But people were reporting to me. I was at conferences, and people would come up to me and say, "Oh, you're so much nicer in real life." And I'm like, "No, I'm the same person. Why are you saying that?" And then I noticed that when I started doing content where I was just sitting in the living room, still a nice image, okay? I was putting the a good quality studio kind of environment to record those, but I was more relatable. It was still the same content, but I was telling a little bit more stories as well, more personal stories, more stories of people that I had helped. Then the feedback was like radically different, and it became way more successful. So I think people sometimes they over index on on trying to be a character. And if you're just allowing yourself to be yourself, you can rely on the AI to remove the stutters and the mistakes. So that's fine. And you can tell a few stories. You can tell even off-color stories or things that are maybe polarizing, but they are the real you. That will appeal to a much wider audience. And it will be an audience that is closer to being like you, speaking like you, liking the same things that you do. So they will enjoy this content more.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential, so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.